Hi, it is day 7 of Christmas Advent. Okay, so you would have realised that there was no Advent video to watch this morning at 6 AM when it's supposed to premiere. That's because the YouTube gremlins decided it wanted to eat day 7 video before I even realised I'd already deleted the edited version that I had on my phone and all the little bits that went with it before I edited. Even the picture. Okay, don't know why, it just happened. Those things are sent to try our patience. So, like last year, I did some videos where over the Christmas Advent for last December, I did some make videos. So what I thought I would do today is a bit of wet felting, because I do love a bit of wet felting and I never have enough opportunities or time because I'm too busy fluffing for you lot. So I'm going to make a beret today. A beret, she says. Yes, a beret with your wool. Now, go ruling around what you've got in your stash. You can use bats, and if you look at my videos from last year, I made mittens from an art bat, the actual Christmas Day art bat that I did last year, because it was 100 grams. So it is possible to do wet felting with bats, okay? But this time I'm going to be doing it with a merino with tissue silk blend, a plain merino because I thought that would really cute together, and I might even be really dangerous at adding some popping candy neps. So that's what we're going to do today. So what you need to go and hunt the house for. Okay, now you want some voile. Okay, now this is a bag. I don't even know where it's been hiding all this time, probably in the boiler cupboard. But this was from a big crochet pattern set where it all came in one big bulk bag. And that's from the Wool Warehouse, okay? Many, many moons ago when I was still using manufactured wool. So, I'm using this. I'm not going to cut it up because I actually use it for drying my fleeces down at the side of the fireplace. But I'm just going to leave it like that because I can still do what I'm doing with it. But if you've just got a piece of voile, okay, use that. Don't use anything that's got, I don't know. I tried it with a cotton, mesh, like a net. And last year, and it started to felt after a little while on my wool. So I wouldn't advise that because you can use cotton scrim for doing nylon felting, that sort of thing. So you can use it. Just be careful, you might want to feel like you have to pull it back a lot more often than what you would normally do. Okay, then go hunting the house. Now you say, I haven't got anything to use as an insert for the resist. Shopping bag. Go and get yourself a shopping bag. Okay, so what you want to do, now excuse the calamity of only a metal measuring tape. I don't know where all my cotton measuring tapes have gone. They've disappeared into the twilight zone, as they do when you need one, like a pair of scissors. I've got about 17 pairs of scissors in this house, and the only ones I can find are my fabric scissors. So what you want to do is get your tape measure to measure it from this, roughly this point on your head, and come back down just a little bit, maybe about ½ an inch. Okay, so from the cup of your head to the middle of your forehead is roughly how much of a diameter that you need. Okay, so for me, I've only got a little head, and that's 21 inches. I've got 21 inches from the scalp, from your forehead to the back crown of your head. Okay, now just take a note of that because you're going to need that roughly for the end bit when you cut out, and you've got to allow for the shrinkage and everything else. Okay, now for your resist inside the wool when you're felting, find whatever you can. I've got loads of them downstairs, but I can't find them, obviously. I've got these, it's like this packaging stuff that came with my fridge when it got delivered, and it was a foam on the outside and like a silver foil on the other side, and it's really, really good. It lasts forever. Okay, alternatively, go and get yourself a shopping bag. Cut it down in the middle of it, take the handles off, make yourself a square, fold it up. Okay, now I've just gone with a bog standard size, and I'll tell you the measurements of this in a minute. So I just literally folded it up and cut an angle, and then I created a circle. So the width of this, let me get this is, once folded, I've ended up with 7 inches. 7 inches, oh here we go, 7 inches from side to side and 7 inches on that side, and then I created a circle. So if I just do that point there, so if you wanted to measure yourself a point in the middle, 7 inches from the middle on this. So even if you drew yourself, marked 7 there, straight up the middle, even do a fold again, 7 there, mark it, and then 7 there, and then cut yourself a circle all the way around. Okay, you may need to just trim it up just to make it a little bit better. So let's have a go and see if this actually works, but I can't see why it wouldn't. It might move around a little bit because it's got no rigidity in it. Alternatively, you can use a folder, a file clip. So you know the file binders, and they've got the metal clips on the inside, and if you've got an old one and it's got that thick plastic stuff, cut yourself a circle out of that. Do you know that dog's, excuse the dog, she's having a fit. She's obviously pinched something out of my room and gone off with it. So there we go. So 1 plastic bag, 1 voile bag from a shop, an online shop retailer that comes with what I need. I have got 1 towel, it's over there, bubble wrap. So I've got a piece here, but I do have some more over there. I will grab those in a minute. You want bubble wrap for the end for when you're rolling, okay? So this is actually an envelope, and I took it out of a parcel bag. Do you know, Sean? You're genius. So you know those brown Jiffy bags? Those brown Jiffy bags, look at that. And I took the paper off the outside of the Jiffy bag, and I was left with this on the inside. So go rootle around the house. It's Christmas. You're going to have a Jiffy bag lying around somewhere in the house. And if you're telling me that you don't have any plastic bags in the house, well, shame on you. You could use as a resist, if you've got plenty of bubble wrap in the house, use a bubble wrap to make your resist. That'll do the exact same job, and it will help with the agitation from the inside to out. Okay, so there we go. And you'll want a bar of soap. Now in my jug over there, if you just bear with me, I'll just pause you for a second. So this is the bubble wrap that I usually use. It's been well used. It's probably not got that much bubbles left in it anyway, but big sheet of bubble wrap. There's always, us fibre crafters, whenever we get an order in of whatever it is that we've bought for ourselves, there's always a load of bubble wrap in there. Alternatively, go down to Poundland, Home Bargains, B&M Bargains, go to the section where they've got all the envelopes and everything else, and you can buy a roll of bubble wrap for a couple of quid. Always handy to have in anyway, regardless. Now, excuse my grossy bar of soap. This is my olive soap. You can buy it from any fibre company online. There's no point giving you names. You all have your favourites, but you're talking a couple of quid and it lasts forever. And I use the olive soap for filling, for doing my my felting. Okay, then for the end process, when you're rinsing it, you want to get yourself some vinegar. It doesn't matter if it's apple cider vinegar, white vinegar, malt vinegar. Don't waste your wine vinegar or your cider vinegar, okay? But you want that for the end because it actually helps a different part of the process. Okay, so I'm going to tilt you down and you can watch me from there. The parts of it I'll be talking through, and then other parts when I've got to do the 100 rolls, like that. Okay, you'll be joining in with me, but you'll be listening to a bit of music because you do not want to hear me cursing. Honestly, the air will go blue with my shoulders killing me, my arms killing me, but you've got to do it. Okay, so I'm off. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you throughout and at the end. Okay, so you're going to do a couple of layers of your wool on this. Okay, so get yourself some roving. I'm just going to take it in smaller chunks, okay? And you just want it nice and wispy at the end. If you've never done this before, it's a really good fun job that you can do with the kids and the grandkids at home. Okay, definitely. So what you want to do is where you want to leave a little bit of a layer on the outside. You can start from the middle or the outside, it's up to you. Don't worry about it. And you want to slightly layer over each section that you've just added. Okay, and you're going to do this all the way around. And just keep going, and you want like I would say roughly about an inch, half an inch layer over the top of your plastic, okay, or your insert, your do you know, I have the word there every 5 minutes, it disappears out my brain. Your inlay, there's another word for it, it'll come to me. You've heard me say it once. Once is enough. Right, so you just keep going round and round. Oh, let's bring that out a little bit more. I'm going to put a little bit more on this section here because it's not doing the job properly. So I'm coming to the end of this clump. And just layer it over the top. Grab myself some more. Okay, and then start layering it all the way around on the next section, okay? And you just keep doing that until you get to the middle. But you want to make sure that half's layering over the top of the original layer and half is sat starting on the next section that needs covering over. Okay, and I'm going to repeat that process again. Cover over. And some more. There we go. Okay, so the next layer, you want to go in opposite direction because what it's going to start doing is binding the fibres together. So once again, you just literally hatch over the top of your fibres, and you want them to go over the top of the fibres you're going to fold over in a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to put that there. Some more. Just buff that out a little bit so it's easier to work with. Over there, a bit more, a bit more, a bit more, a bit more. Now this is the exact same principle that you would use if you were making wet felted bowls, okay? The exact same principle. The only difference is with this is you're not going to shape it into a bowl-like structure. You're going to let it stay flat, okay? Oh, and don't forget, you need water as well. You need a bowl or a spray gun, or if you've got one of those brilliant little sprinkly things, which I would love, but they're far too expensive, and you want some warm water. And just keep going. So I've got this edge end here and I still want to cover that over, okay? Fifth that out a bit and then a little bit more over that side, and that's that. Now I'm going to add some of this colour in there, just a little bit, because this is just going to be one side. You've got the other side to do in a minute. So I'm going to come in the opposite direction. And when you start mixing colours together, it really does create a completely different look from what you thought you were going to get. So I generally stick with roughly 3 layers when I'm doing a felt in. 3, 4 is up to you. If you're going to embellish, which I will do in a bit on the other side, then 4, but a very, very thin coat of 4, especially if you're using something like Neps. because it'll just help keep them in place. Okay, nearly done. So I'm still coming over the edge. Need a little bit more. Okay, so that's that done. Now I'm going to get my spray gun. I'm just going to wet that all the way over. I really want to wet it. I don't want to drench it, soak it where the water's coming off all over the place. That's not going to do anything, but I want to make sure that when I add the soap bar on in a minute, that it's going to have some moisture coming through on it. Okay, so now I'm going to get my voile on the top, and I'm going to loosely wet this off as well, because I need to soak my soap. And the moisture will come through in a minute. I just want to soften this off. Okay, pull my sleeves up and then start with my soap bar, and it will go through. Now you can use, it's a great idea, and I will do it one day in one of my videos when I'm doing some more wet felting, a sander. Take the sanding paper off the bottom of your sander machine and it will do all the agitation for you, especially if you've got arthritis or rheumatism in your hands. Honestly, it's the best thing ever to have in your toolkit if you're a felter. And I'm actually now thinking in my brain, racking my brain, is to think, is my sander up here? We've been decorating the stairs, so the odds of it being up here somewhere are quite high in the potential. So I'm just going to wet this down again. The water's still warm. Okay, I'm just going to give it, I think that's enough soap for now. Just plonk that to one side. And I'm just going to now use my fingers and get all those sods in that wool all the way through with a bit of pressure from my hands. That's looking really good. Oh, that's really nice. And you can use any type of bar of soap. I don't think I've ever seen anyone using like hand soap or shampoo or anything like that before, but just a cheap bar of soap out the supermarket will do. You don't need anything expensive, honestly. I've just got the lanolin the olive oil soap because I bought it years ago and it lasts forever. I mean, I easily bought that soap about 4 years ago and there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Right, so I'm just gonna peel that off and you can see, there you go. Okay, so now you want to ever so gently pick up with your resist, there's that word again, the one I couldn't find earlier on, and I'm going to put this bubble wrap underneath so it doesn't drench through my towel too much. In a minute, I've got it in 2 pieces here. Okay, so I'm just gonna wet the sides of my resist, and now what you want to do is start pulling these sections over, because these are going to create this seal. Okay, I think my dog's just been attacked by a cat because she was whimpering down the stairs, so I might have to go and check her in a minute. So there might be a quick pause, but I won't be gone for long. So you just pat them down, and just don't try not to do massive creases in it. Okay, and because the plastic bag's there, it's helping me create the form. I should have done this video yesterday, but I have just spent the last day and a half looking for my bamboo roller, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Right, so that's done. I'm going to give that another spray, and then we're going to repeat the process. Okay, so I'm just going to pat those down. I want to keep that round shape. There we go. So that's as round as it's going to be. So I'm just going to quickly dry my hands off, because there's nothing worse than touching wool with wet hands. Oh, just lost my ring. Right. Well, the dog's still alive, so it obviously wasn't that bad. She's probably attacked Ninja, which is never a good thing to do. So I'm just going to spray this over the top and then repeat the process. Okay, I'm not going to use that pink wool again, because I'm going to have this as my top. Dog, get down. Scardy, down. Right, so you're going to repeat the process all over again, and you're going to work from the outside in a circle. My hands are still a little bit damp. All the way around. Okay, so I will see you on the other side while I finish off this process. Okay, so I've done my 2 layers. What I'm going to do now is add in some of my nappy bits. I'm just going to let it land wherever they want to land. Now you can use any type of silks that you've got at home. You can use locks, you can use fabric, whatever you want to do, and just add them in randomly. This stuff's a flipping nightmare because it just wants to do what it wants to do. Okay, and I think I've just spotted underneath some, I have some hand dyed tissue silk in my little box of tricks underneath. So I think what I'll do with that is just let it wisp into place. I think any direction it wants to go in. shred it into pieces. Oh, come on. I'm going to put some pieces that are hanging over the edge so that they come through on the other side when I fold this over again in a minute. I think that's more than enough. Less is more. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm just going to quickly add over just a very skim coat over the top of this in the opposite direction to the way that I went. I don't want it over facing my fibres too much, but enough so that you can see the faint hints of them through the wool translucently. Okay. Oh, Joe, your vocabulary's eating the dictionary today. So there we go. I'm just going to keep on doing this. As long as you make, it doesn't matter which direction you go, as long as you make sure that your next section of wool folds over the edge. So I've just put this piece down here, and I'm going to make sure that my next layer sits on top of that just ever so slightly. Okay, so that's one side done. So down, and then that's that where it ends, and I'm going to put it down nearly at the middle of it, but not quite. Okay, but it folds over onto, touches this other side of the fibre as well. Just a tiny bit more to finish off this section here at the side. Okay, ever so gently. I mean, you could add, if you've got any pre-felted cutouts like love hearts or leaves or whatever, you can add those to these because they're easily felt away. So I'm now again going to get my warm spray bottle, and I'm just going to keep wetting that down. There we go. See, it's starting to compress with the weight of the water, and work my way all the way around, and just keep going and going in the middle, and then come back out on myself, and you can see the pops of silk showing through. Okay, I'm going to get my voile again, put that over the top, and just give this a quick spray, and my soap bar. You don't need to drench your felting when you're doing wet felting. There's really no need for it. You want enough moisture on there. You don't need to have a lake. Okay, so I'm just gonna wet that off in my hand and do the exact same as what I did on the other side. And the agitation from the fabric, as you can see, starts to foam up my bar of soap. There we go. So just give it one more spray. I think that might be more than enough. A little bit more moisture, and now I'm just going to attack it with my hands, give it a little bit of agitation so it wants to stick. And you're wondering why use soap. If you've never done this before, what the soap does is help react the wool in the felting process. It creates, I suppose, a sort of glue to the fibres. But it just helps with that process, and at the end of it, the wool's all felted and the soap will rinse out afterwards. but it helps you create that agitation and that gluing instinct for it to want to stick together, and just helps you manipulate and mould it a little bit better. But it is just a process, that's all. And just use the tips of your fingers. If you've got any bits sticking out, make sure that you attack them as well if your voile's not quite big enough, or your net, or whatever you're using. Palms of your hands, if your fingers get sore. Make sure you get the ridge. You can feel where you've folded over the fibres, and you want to just get your fingers to run around the edge of that fold, so these fibres start to knit in with it as well. So just go around and follow the shape, whether it's a sock, a boot, a mitten mould, or whatever it is. And what you're going to be doing, see, you can see the form line of where the fold is, where I folded over those fibres previously. And you can see that now, yeah? The circle all the way around. So you just keep agitating that, and those pieces will start to stick in with each other and fight with each other and get all tangled up. And that's the process that you're creating, you're felting. And then I know that to about here, all the way around, is those other fibres that are sat on the bed. And all those creases will flatten out as well that were in those folds that you passed over. Okay, so just agitate that bit a little bit more. You're working a little bit harder on this side. Okay, and you may see the soap start to change colour because the dye's coming out the fibre. Don't worry about it. It's not a massive problem, whether you're using hand dyed wools or wool that you've got from a miller's. You're going to get that regardless anyway. Right, so I'm just going to go around the edging again because I'm going to flip it over in a minute. So I'll just go over that all the way around. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to just gently take off my fibre on that side. Look at that. Oh, you're naughty, you stay down there. Okay, so that is going to be the top of my beret. So I'm just going to plonk that there. I'm now going to flip it over, but I do want to flip it onto this now, my large piece of bubble wrap, and I'm going to put the bubbles on top. So the bubbles are on this side, they're going to hit the wool on the other side, because what they'll do is help with the agitation when we go through the next process in a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna, ooh, look at that, can you see that circle? Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. We're going to flip all these fibres over, and we're going to give it another agitation with the viscose and your soap. You might not need so much soap, but you will want to add a little bit more water to it. So I'm just going to pat these down ever so gently so I don't lose the shape that I had, because as I say, I'm only using a plastic bag for my insert. You can use a poly pocket, that sort of thing. And if you haven't got something as big as that, definitely you can use bubble wrap for the inside as your resist, if you've gone out and bought yourself a roll so that you can do this. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. So there we go. I think that, try and get the creases out if I can help manage it so they're not too obvious, but they will melt away. There's a piece of wool that doesn't want to stick, so I'm going to take it off. It's not going to cause me any issues by taking that off. So I'm going to spray this again, okay, and in the middle, and then this is the side that I'm going to be cutting a hole out in a bit. So again, I'm going to grab my piece of netting and I'm going to spray the top of that, and now I want to make sure that all these edges are all glued together and not resisting each other. They will start to combine properly when you start the actual motion process. Right, so I want to just soak my soap again. Make sure this time you're really going to be working on the edges, because that's where you want the wools to glue and saturate together and felt. Okay, not to say you don't do the middle, but it's the outer edges that you're really going to be working on now. Okay, that's more than enough soap. So I'm gonna start really going round in circles from the outside and try and bring it in, and that process will help reduce those creases in the fold overs. Okay, and bring those sides in as well. Just hold on to your netting so it doesn't flow inwards. Okay, give that. And then you want to really get stuck in to the edges of your shape and really agitate them. And that's what the soap's helping you with as well, is the agitation process. It just makes it easier. Nothing wants to pull apart. Just curl my fingers around like that, just to really annoy the heck out of these rims. Scardy, stop it. Mischievous pup. Right, I'm going to use my hand now. I always bring my hands in a circular insular motion. Yeah, I'm pushing up as I come around, but it's always with the regards that I'm coming back into the centre. Okay. There we go. Shall we have a look, see what it looks like? Actually, I think I'll just have one more go at the edge. Because the harder work is about to happen. Okay. All right, there we go. So all the creases, from what I can see, have all depleted and evened themselves out. So there's no creases in there anymore from the folds that I had in place. Okay. So what I want to do now is get my bubble wrap and bring that over. Actually, I think I'll cut this. Actually, this is quite a big piece, so I will cut it. Now, for some reason, I can't find my bamboo roller that I would normally use. There's been so much going on in this house this year, you can't find anything. Okay, so what I want to do now is, with my towel, just pull it up a bit, because I haven't got a bamboo roller. My towel's going to help me with this next process of agitation. So I'm literally going to pull that down. I'm going to see if I can take these two pieces of bubble wrap out from underneath. Okay, take them off. Right. So there we go. So my form's on there. I know it's on one roll. So what you're going to be doing, you want to roll it 100 times in total. So what you do is, for every 25 rolls, you turn it a quarter. Okay? So you would roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay? Then you would unravel it. You would take off your bubble wrap. Okay? And turn it a quarter. That's it. Okay? Cover it over with your bubble wrap, and then roll it 25 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Unravel your towel or your bamboo roll, take off your bubble wrap, and then do another quarter turn. Put that over, and so forth. Okay, so once you've got that process done, come back to me. I will carry on and do what I need to do. Once you've got to that process, I'll show you what you have to do next. Okay, so you've done your 25 rolls 4 times, turning it a quarter clockwise or anti-clockwise, whatever, you're turning it a quarter every time. Okay, so now what you want to do is gently pick it up, and you'll see that it's still round, it's still got its shape, but it's starting to change. Okay, right, okay, just make sure that I've still got a round shape in there. All right, so you're going to do the exact same again on the other side. Okay, so literally flop your towel over your bamboo roll, roll it up, okay, and go. And you just want to place your hands once often. I think I'm about 10 now, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I've done too many there, so that's at least 30 then. Right, so take that off. My quarter. It will just loosen off there, loosen off a bit there. So I've got my hand at 2 points, and come back to the opposite 2 points and go. So see you in a minute. Right, so what you want to do next, because the next bit gets all mucky and you'll be getting your hands wet anyways, you just want to nick a hole in the middle, like so. And the layers should be quite happy. So I'm just going to cut try not get the plastic bag at the same time. Create a circle. Okay, so that's one out. don't worry if it's messy, you can tidy all that back up again in a bit. And I'm just going to cut across here as well and cut around. And what you're going to be doing next is the filling process. So you're going to be bashing it, soaping it, rubbing it, and just doing the final process. And at the same time, you can now should be able to take out your inlay without it causing too much resistance. And you will at this process at the beginning of the felting stage, it is felted. You can see the compression of the fibres in there. Now what you want to do is get yourself some warm water and soap again, spray the wool, the project that you're doing. I'm just going to run my hands over the top so the soap melts as I'm just turning it around. Okay, now when you're taking the measurement, and I probably should have said this at the beginning, but I'm just taking for granted that you guys have all done wet felting before. You want to make sure that when you make your surround, there's at least 10% bigger than the measurements that you're required to start with. And I say that because of the shrinkage that's going to happen now as you're filling it and bashing it and throwing it about the place. Okay, so I'm just going to spray the top of this a bit more. Add a little bit more soap to it. Okay, I'm just going to stick that to one side, and I'm going to work my hands on the inside and start the edges with my knuckles so there isn't a permanent sort of crease in there. And what you're doing at this point is you're now starting to shape it. I'm going to take my ring off. My ring is going to fall off if I'm not careful. Okay, so shaping it with the knuckles of your hand, and you're agitating and you're rubbing, and you can see all that soap in there. And you're just starting to get the shape that you're looking for. You're wanting the shrinkage in there as well, so the more you work at it, the more it will shrink, but not massively. But you want the process so you can actually wear it and when it dries it shrinks a bit more. And make sure you get these edges, and you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but the colour of the dye is starting to come out the more I agitate with it. Do your edges, make sure nothing's loose, and you want to do this for a good few minutes. Make sure it keeps its shape as you're filling it around. Work this inside again with your fists, not the tips of your fingers, with your fists and the palm of your hand, but don't use the actual tips of your fingers because you may have a weak spot in there that you've missed, and that means that your finger will go through it and you'll have to figure out a way of covering it over, which a little patchwork would look really cool, because once it's dry you can embellish it afterwards. You can use embroidery threads and glass beads and things like that afterwards. The palms of your hands, just work those fibres in together. Okay. this is the reason why you have a towel, so it can now soap up. So you want to just roll it up and just be really rough with it. Okay, unravel it, roll it up again. If you don't repeat it in different angles, then it will end up forming into a completely random shape that you weren't looking for in the first place. And at the same time, you'll find that the shape's got a little bit smaller than it was to start with. Okay, though to be fair, my hole's got bigger, so maybe you don't need to do as big a hole as that, but then with this one you could quite easily create a ribbon around it and stitch that into place by hand and create a bit more firmness in there, or add in some bias binding, sew that in at a later date, so you could just form the shape as well, so it's got a brim, so you could do that sort of thing. I'm just going to keep on doing this. And then you have, the hole in it is definitely too big, but you have got the principal idea. And oh, sorry about that, disaster. Right, so this is going to be far too big for my head. I could have done with cutting that hole a little bit smaller, and more you mess with it, the more you meld with it, it's going to actually widen up for you if you think you've cut it too short. But in principle, right, that's it. Okay, now I can do some amendments once it's dried, and maybe once it's drying on top of the fire with my mould paper, I'm going to put it in a minute, then that's going to help shrink it and form it a little bit more. So what I'm going to do next, because I'm not downstairs at the sink, I'll just top you down on a second, if I can do it without dropping the phone, is the bit that I was saying that you need some vinegar. So, vinegar. Okay, I've just got some brown vinegar in because that's the one we like, and a few dashes of that in my rinsing water. And what it does is it helps realign the alkali of the fibre. Okay, so I'm literally going to dunk that in there. I could have done with a bigger bowl. Let me see if I can pour some of this into my jug. Could have done with a bigger bowl, Joe. and that'll help. So your water will change colour as well, and I'll twist this round in a minute. It'll help neutralise the alkaline from the soap. You know when you have an idea and it doesn't go quite to plan as you hoped? Aha, it's one of those moments. But I'm not downstairs, so I had to come up with something. So that's it, just a little bit wet. And what I'm going to do now is move my soapy stuff out the way. Just give it a good, okay. Okay, so there, in principle, you've got more time at home, peeps. You've got more time to practice. This is the first time I've ever made this. I was on a whim, and I was being determined for a couple of months to actually make one. But there you have one beret. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some paper. I don't have any newspapers at home. We don't have a convenience shop locally. So what I usually do is use some kitchen roll or paper roll, and I just insert that to help. This is what I do for making wet felted vessels as well. Some newspaper and or kitchen towel, in my case blue towel, and you can just use that just to create the shape that you want it to dry in. Okay, this is so big I could probably use it as a blinking fruit bowl, but you get the principle of the idea. We all know Jo's not perfect in any way whatsoever, but she does have a go. She has a try. She is a trier, as Phil says. Oh, she tries my patience, he says. So there we go. So I'm edging up my sides. I'm going to flatten down the inside as well. It looks more like an egg at this moment in time. There we go. And then one more big piece for in the middle. And this just acts as a shaper, a mould, and it helps it dry out as well. So I just want to create, get out of the way scarf, an actual circle, and it will dry in the shape that I've created. Okay, now in principle, as I've said already, when I was cutting it I could have probably only gone a small circle, and then I would have ended up getting the shape that I needed, or the size I needed for the head hole. But a beret is supposed to sit jauntily. Oh, there we go, I'm back. Right, so a beret's supposed to sit jaunty anyway, on a jaunty angle, on your head, love. So there you go. Now you can add all sorts of embellishments on there. I mean, I think once it's dried and you put a bit of ribbon around there, it should help hold that structure a little bit more. And if you just got it sat on your head in a jaunty position, it doesn't really matter. It's a bit of homemade paraphernalia, a little bit of fun, something you can do with the kids on the Christmas holidays, on the lead up or afterwards when you're bored out your brains and you need to control them a little bit. Give them something to do. Or the grandkids come to visit, you make berets, especially with the granddaughters, which I think you can use locks, neps, patches of silk if you've got any, mulberry silk, tussar silk. You can do it with alpaca felts really well. Use Teeswater locks, Wensleydale locks, BFL locks, do fires, do loads of different types of colour methods. You can start from the outside in with like a black, going to grey, and then an orange on the top of it. You create little felt like little noodles of fibre, and then stick them on the top with a little plume so it sits in place. You can do inserts where you can create flowers as well, and if you use a piece of plastic, once you've got your second layer done, put your piece of plastic on your actual felt, but make sure it's got a hole on the inside, and you can cut it into the shape of a flower or whatever you want, circles or squares, and make sure that there's a hole on the inside of it, so you've literally just got like a cake cutter shape on the outside. Felt over the top of that, and that piece of plastic will act like a resist, a miniature resist, and your felting will adhere to itself in the center, which is why you need it hollow. Okay, and then when it comes to actually getting to the end process where we've just given it the bashing and everything else, you want to just ever so slightly cut where you know that resist is, because you'll see the different colour that you've probably used or something like that. Okay, and then pop that resist out, and you'll end up with a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional flower or a star or something like that on the top of it. It's something I will have a play with and an experiment with in the new year, and start doing a few more felting videos, because I really do love doing wet felting, and I think we could all do with a bit of experimentation. And yeah, that's what we need to do. So I hope you enjoyed this video today for day 7 Christmas Advent. Yes, it is a little bit long, Joe, but I think you'll all agree that you're going to have fun making these when you get a second to yourself. So please hit that like and subscribe. Any comments, leave them down below. If you subscribe and hit that bell, you'll be alerted whenever I put a video online. So tomorrow, day 8 Advent, and there is a video ready to be seen. So I need to go and kill my dog. I'm off. I'll see you later. Bye.